But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another casual stream with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Um, First things first, normal road check, sound call. Make sure that the volume's good. Can you guys hear me okay? Music too loud, voice too low, all that good stuff. Let me know how it is. Make sure you can't hear nothing in the background. Um, and yeah, so we're good to go. But thank you very much for anyone who's in the building that came in early. I get to the roll call very shortly. Um, and yeah, just thank you to everyone who tuned in. As always, it's always a pleasure kicking it with you guys for an hour or so on a Wednesday, sometimes a Thursday, sometimes over the weekend to get a nice little Sunday session like we did last week. Um, but yeah, let's go through, see who's in the building from early. Shout out to Philip, number one in the building. Knew it had to be you. Congrats, thank you very much. Muller, man like KM. Shout out to you. Thank you very much for being here. Jack Knight, salute. I know you was checking the other day when the next stream's gonna happen. So yes, always, unless otherwise stated, 8 o'clock on Wednesday. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for being here. Jonah31, shout out to you. Lucan as well, big up to you. And Mother saying that the sound is fine. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Now, there's nothing majorly that I've got on my mind today. So I want to speak a little bit about the I guess the Garcia news with the non-confirmed nandrolone metabolite in his system or in his test sample. We'll talk a little bit about the weekend, and then you guys, I just want you to put in the chat yo guys, I need to get some water. Give me a second. Populate the chat. I'll be back in a moment. And we are back. Yes, that was much needed. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so talk a little bit about Garcia, a little bit about the weekend, and then you guys can put any of your if you got any questions, put them in the chat. We can discuss them. I'm only going to really be speaking for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I'm gonna put a link in for the last half hour. Anybody wants to jump on, say what they want to say. Anything related, ain't even gotta be boxing. I mean, me and you boys, but I know you probably got some Man United banter for me. Feel free to put that in there if you need to. Although I'm not like KG, I'm very emotionally detached from football, so I can't get riled up and upset by that stuff. But yeah, whatever, it's all good. I'm gonna let the list populate for another minute or so, and then we'll get started. But I hope everyone's had a good day. I hope everyone's whether you were working, relaxing, taking care of kids, being a kid, if you are one. I don't know the ages of everyone that watches the show. And yeah, anything in between. We've gone gym today. I made the most of it. Just even going for a walk, taking the pets out, like clean the house, whatever you've been doing. I hope you've had a have a good productive day. I've been catching up on X-Men '97 today, so yeah, that shows levels. That shows levels. But yeah, let's check last couple comments. Uh, Alright, Mullah, unless I'm mistaken, were the Nandrolone traces which weren't exclusively being checked in the test. Um, I think what happened with that is that they were saying um, they haven't confirmed it in the initial sets of tests that they did, so they need to do more testing on it just to confirm. They're saying it wasn't present in a, I guess maybe in a state that they would have expected, so they needed more testing of it, but it came back as non-confirmed. So it's not negative of the metabolite or of the nandrolone from what I can see, but it's not confirmed that it's actually was like fully present in the sample. I think that's what they're testing for more than anything else with regards to that. Um, but the B sample I think is only being opened and checked specifically for the ostarine and nothing else. So I don't think they'll be testing for anything else with that. Philip, it's good to see Adames get the WBC strap. Yeah, let's see if he holds on to it for 3 years like Charlo did. No, all my banter is for KG with the result because it's always you support Crystal Palace. Fair enough. You know what? That's fine. I mean, this is one of those times I will happily let KG take all the bullets. Even though, like I said, it's doing it to me is probably just a waste of his time. You know that when you used to be in school, you used to hear about like a bully, and the bully or the person used to pick on someone only because it used to get to them, and then as soon as it stopped getting to them, they got bored. Oh, okay, and look for a new target. That's kind of how I would be when it comes to football. Like it, because it's not gonna round me up. You're just gonna move on after a while. Did you see episode 9? Not yet. I've got 2 more episodes to watch tonight. I've got to watch 8 and 9 tonight, and then I'll be caught up. So don't put no spoilers in the chat for it. But I think enough people's in building at the minute. So yeah. So I guess first things obviously talk about the weekend, the extended weekend, I guess we're gonna call it. Um, so here's my main thoughts on not even so much Canelo Mongia, because you would have already seen the weekend wrap. You would have known sort of my opinions on that. You would have watched the breakdown yesterday with me and Tony and seen how I scored the fight, how I broke it down. My main takeaway though is I think Canelo still being elite enough that he can make like volume guys or notoriously aggressive guys like holster their weapons. Floyd Mayweather was able to do that as well. Alexander Usyk is a person that knows how to do that. Even Terence Crawford is kind of is someone that sort of will make someone holster their guns because he's just so accurate on the return. Artur Beterbiev, he's another person that's very, very good, especially if they don't have success early. He sort of make them sort of retreat into a shell as a bit. So anyone kind of with pressure and volume who people think, that's who will affect him, because I think of his punch power and accuracy, I still think he's able to keep those people honest and keep those people closed. And if we look at, for instance, a David Benavidez, just for argument's sake, even though that fight's probably not taking place anytime soon, when you kind of just look at the way he threw volume punches at people like David Lemieux and what's the other guy's name who he fought, the middleweight that came up, that's gonna bug me. What's his name? Anyway, what I remember is the black guy. What is his name? Ronald Ellis. Yeah, when he faced I think it was Ronald Ellis, obviously Lemieux and those guys. You saw it was lots of high volume. Even when he fought, I Anthony Durrell. There's a load of sort of high volume punches in bunches, big combinations. But when he fought Caleb Plant, and even to a lesser extent when he fought Demetrius Andre, like the volume went down because he was in there with a slightly better caliber of opposition. Now, obviously, he was able to pick it up towards the back end of the fight, but in those initial stages, he wasn't throwing at the same regularity that he used to. It's the same with Jaime. Jaime was a big volume guy with Derevyanchenko. He had a lot of volume with Jimmy Kelly, Liam Smith back in the day. But when it came to sort of Canelo, there was a lot less volume in there. So I feel like he's still got enough to be able to deal with those high pressure, high volume guys. The only ones who are going to really test him are going to be the ones like with the big punch. And I don't think there's any of those people that have really got that, still around that 168, that are, you know, that are money enough for him to actually take a fight with him. So that's sort of my takeaway of that. And as I said to many people before, with regards to David Benavidez almost refusing to get in the ring after, you know, when Canelo beckoned him to come into the ring or whatnot. I know some people saw it as you know, he doesn't really want it, he's ducking. I saw it more as I appreciate that you recognize that you've got positive problems and you need to worry about that. But from an optics point of view, if you did want that fight, or you were looking for that fight, it does sort of paint a bit of a negative picture where you've got the opportunity to come in the ring, make some noise, stick it on him, the same way that Lara did, the same way that Austin Trout tried to sort of do back in the day, the same way that you had who was it that did it to Shane Mosley Jr. did it to Shane Mosley, so he did it to Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the ring. You know, you create a nice little bit of turmoil. Even to a lesser extent, you had, you know, Gervonta Davis pulling up on Devin Haney's truck after the press conference. Obviously, he already knows, well, I can't fight you because you've already got a fight, but it gives a false illusion, at least to the people, that, oh, well, I want this work, so come get this work. So yeah, and funny enough, I've actually never seen Canelo and Benavidez in the same spot together, like in a press conference, in the ring, ringside. I'm thinking about it, I've never actually seen that. And obviously I was one of the people that said for the longest time he's never actually really wanted that fight. He's just been looking clout off the name, which is something that a lot of PBC guys do. But now when I'm sort of actually going through the records and trying to think back through all of the times when they could have got into each other's faces and it's never happened. Interesting. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on that side of things. Let me jump in the chat, see if anyone else has kind of got takes. So Lou can shout out. But what I don't understand is, if it wasn't confirmed, why did they post it? He had the drug in his system in the first place. Cowboy move. That's the thing. I think they said that the result that they had, it showed. I guess they're saying it showed traces of either the metabolite, or it showed traces of a substance that was consistent with that metabolite. So that's why they said it was a potential adverse finding, but they said it was non-confirmed, which is why they said they had to do more testing on it. Because it's like when you go to I don't know, sometimes when you might go to the doctors and they say, oh, we suspect you may have an issue or a clot or something, but we need to check further. And then when they check further, says that no, that is, you're given the all clear. I think it might just be something like that. There's something that appeared to look like something else. They wasn't 100% sure, but they put it down to say this requires further investigation. That's what I kind of think it would play out. Shout out to North Bank, Brennan building, and to Tony, partner in crime, pugilist boy. Shout outs to you as well. Philip, it seems Turkey, or His Excellency, as everyone calls him, wants to really make Canelo versus Crawford fight. I mean, it's a good fight. I know, as much as a lot of people might think, oh, it's just another small guy coming up to face Canelo. I've always maintained, in terms of like their height and their size, and everything. Like Crawford is a lot stronger, he's a lot bigger than what people think, and he's definitely. I can't even say that I would think that Canelo would be the strongest in the ring if the two of them face. He might have the more powerful punches potentially, but in terms of raw strength, I don't think he's stronger than Terence Crawford. Um, Again, I've maintained that for many months. Like there's, I've seen Crawford's level of core strength, and I don't think Canelo's on that same level. So natural size may be the only advantage he has, but I don't think the strength and the sort of strength and raw power is that. Punching power maybe, but I think Crawford's the more accurate of the two. So yeah. Shout out to Cos D'Amato. Blessings to you. Thank you very much for being in the building. Um, Mullah, they had to let them know as the trace was in the sample, which is fair, but never said it was definitely in the system. Yeah, exactly. That's why they're saying it was like it's not confirmed, it's rather to do further testing. Um, but obviously, when people run with the story or when people get the paperwork, they're throwing out everything. Even though, to be fair, people like Dan Raphael did say at the start, non-confirmed, or there's suspicions of this, but it needs further testing. So, Bren Crawford gives Canelo problems. Pac-Man versus De La Hoya type situation for me. Sounds about right. And Muller agrees with you as well. Al-Koya, shout out to you. Totally agree. Crawford comes from a wrestling background. Naturally, I believe he's bigger, stronger, sorry, than Canelo. Yes, 100%. Like I said, I've seen, even though the form wasn't great in the video, I've seen him, what was he deadlifting, over 400 pounds? And I think he was weighing about 160, 165 pounds at the time. So, he was deadlifting weight close to what I used to deadlift. I haven't gone. Actually, what's that? I'm trying to think now. Okay, now I'm gonna do that toxic thing where I'm trying to think of my biggest deadlift weights. Well, my biggest deadlift was, I think, 260 kg, or was it two? It was between 240 and 260, somewhere around there. So whatever that translates to in pounds, I think it's about 500 and something. I haven't done those kind of weights in years, nor do I intend to do them again. But yeah, definitely stronger. Apparently, Inoue and AJ are rumored to be on the same card in London. Yep, that's a rumor. That's definitely something we'll kind of look at in a little bit. 100%. All right, so last bits. Let's check this out. Northank. What's hilarious about the Ryan situation? People now calling him clean, ignoring the two failed Osterine tests. Yeah, I mean, look, he's played a masterful role on social media. I give him that. Now again, I'm not prepared to call him dirty just yet until I get full process. They're opening the B sample on the 22nd of May. If they then, that comes back, but then, 2 or 3 months from now, we get notice that, there was a contamination within a supplement that was being taken and tracked, and it can be verified. I'm quite happy to accept that as a reason. I won't say an excuse, but because I'm not a hypocrite when it comes to these things. I give everyone the same due process and all of that stuff. The only thing I will say is, in terms of just a straight opinion, he, I believe, is more capable of being guilty of this than a few other people, just because of everything that he did leading up to the fight. He already did several other moves and tactics that were done to create an unfair tactical edge or advantage prior to the fight taking place. So why would I then not believe that he was capable of doing something to take another shortcut or a tactical advantage? And I also said there could be a possibility where the Osterine, if he did in fact take it knowingly, was to try and help get extra weight off, because he was really heavy. He came in really heavy to camp, and those extra 3 pounds is basically where it managed to get him down to, and he just couldn't actually take any more off. there's that possibility as well. So um, yeah, there's all sorts of ways that I can kind of go around that. So shout out to Peter Curley, new on this. Don't you get racism in the UK, bro? Yeah, we get racism. I mean, it can be overt. It can be like, undercover. But I guess the racism in the UK is different to other places. It can be. It can be a bit more nuanced. It can be a bit more uh, process driven, or a bit more of a class based racism as opposed to, outward stuff. But yeah, but shout out to you. Jam Down 187. Bless up, folks, and bless up, Hulk. I like 260 kg and that. Shout out to Jam Down each and every time. Jack Knight, I don't know what I'm missing. I'm sure Crawford is strong, but I don't know if he's stronger, has more power. No, the thing is, I think in terms of punching power, in terms of that kind of power, Canelo may have more punching power, but in terms of strength and like, I'm talking explosive power, like running, sort of like that quick, that quick twitch muscle fibers, like explosions, running, like clean and jerk, that sort of power. I think he's probably stronger than Canelo. So yeah, I'm not talking about punching power as such, but strength, actual strength, and sort of just overall raw power. Yeah, I would put the two of them together and believe that Crawford is the stronger of the two. I could be wrong, but just from the backgrounds that they both have, I think I don't feel too unconfident saying that. No, Frank, contamination doesn't cut it for me. I hear you, but like I said, I'll allow everyone the same process. So if I accept contamination for Dillian White, if I accept contamination for Alicia Baumgardner, I've got to accept contamination for for Ryan Garcia, if they can prove that that's in fact what it was. Because again, I can't do the hypocrite thing. It doesn't sit right with me. It's a bit like J. Cole going after Kendrick and like, okay, I made fun of your accomplishments. That's not really my thing, and I don't want people looking at your work like it ain't amazing, because it is. So that didn't sit right in my soul. Do what you need to do. That's how I am when it comes to this. But again, that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm actually looking at man sideways at the minute. How cool you, Ryan has publicly admitted that he was high on cannabis for the fight. If they don't find that in the test, then something is seriously wrong. But no, because there's the thing, I just think he's lying. I think he's literally saying whatever he wants to say, because I reckon he's like, oh, well, if I say enough stuff, eventually I can distract the people from the things that I really need them to hear, or the things that they really want to see. Oh yeah, I was high all the time. Okay, cool. That wasn't in the system. Yeah, but I was drinking. Oh, we can't detect alcohol in the blood. But you told people it was apple juice and water and sugar water on the stage. So there, you say so many things that eventually enough of it can stick. I think that's just how they look at it, quite frankly. No disrespect, I think Inoue is overrated. Them weight divisions is not as deep in terms of talent. How many full-grown men are that small? He will definitely get found out if he moves up in weight. I gotta disagree. I've got to majorly disagree with you. Look, the thing is, right? Here's the thing. When you say the weight classes ain't that deep, no. Here's what they actually are. You get the best guys in those weight classes fighting the best guys more often. So, okay, let's say for instance, maybe there isn't 15 like top level guys in there, but there might be 9. But those 9 guys are all gonna fight each other on 1 or 2 occasions before one moves up or one moves down or whatever. They're gonna fight each other on several occasions. So you will get the best possible individuals fighting each other in those divisions. So no, I don't think Inoue is overrated at all. I think he's underrated by the American community, or the American market. And if you look at just the resume, just the accomplishments, yeah, I can't support that as a statement. but you know, you're entitled to it. Shout out to Bigsy Biggs. Caught the stream late, just come back in from training. Okay, that's what we like to see, man. That's what we like to see. Shout out. Yeah, Tony, I won't put that one up on the screen because that might be a bit pausey. At least you're consistent with your stance base. Yeah, that's the only way I can be. I don't want any. The one thing I can't have people calling me. There's two things. There's three things you can't call me, but two of them I'm not going to put in here because I will catch an algorithm charge. But yeah, the last one is hypocrite. Like, I can't. And if I do have moments of hypocrisy, I will try and right the wrong as quickly as possible. And the only time I will ever let it stand is if the circumstances between the two scenarios are different. But yeah, 100%. Agreed. You can't pick and choose who you want to give graces for. Yeah. Keep it consistent, 100%. So Lucan is basically saying Bruce Lee was soft because he was so small. Yeah, it's a slippery slope there. I'm gonna leave y'all to discuss that one, particularly in the comments. But yeah, all I'll say is the accomplishments speak for themselves when it comes to a new age. Like, he's the champions that he beat. 60% of the guys that he beat as champions were the real deal, or were more accomplished than him when he beat them. Whether that was multi-weight champions, whether that was like long reigning champions, or whether they were lauded as like the guy. Yeah, to me, I can't. There's very little I can critique about Inoue's resume. The only one thing is maybe the fact that he skipped over flyweight. Now, that's because he couldn't get the one fight he wanted against Chocolatito, but there was other guys in the weight that he could have fought. But that being said, he wanted the best that was there, couldn't get the best, so fair enough. Shout out to Kiyoshi. Hey, basically, looking forward to any of the upcoming UK shows this weekend. Also, do you think there's a chance of Kambosos getting the upset? Right, so shows this weekend, I should be at the Denzel Bentley versus Danny Dignam fight at the York Hall on Friday, so I will be looking forward to that fight specifically. And I think there's another fight on the undercard that I was interested in, but I can't remember off the top of my head, because that's the only fight that I can sort of register in the brain. I think the press conference is tomorrow, so I should be I haven't got my my accreditation for that yet, but I should be going to a press conference as well. The other ones in the UK is a GBM Sports card on, which I don't really know a huge amount about, and I haven't gone to check it. They did ask me to come down, but I'm not available on the day. In terms of the boxer card, I'm not interested in that one at all, to be honest. As much as I like Lauren Price, the rest of the undercard looks awful. And not only does it look awful, they've got a bunch of guys on the undercard and with like little to no knockout ratios, which tells me that there's going to be a lot of going 8 rounds, going 6 rounds, going 10 rounds, going 12 rounds. And then the main event is not likely to end in a stoppage either. That just sounds like a long night. So yeah, there's a lot of foregone conclusion bouts on that card, so I'm not interested in that. And any chance of Kambosos causing the upset, to me, I give him 0.00000000001% chance of causing an upset. He's not quick enough, he's not sharp enough, he's not strong enough. There's nothing that he does better or even at the same level as Lomachenko. There's not one thing he can say, oh, well, I've got this over him, apart from maybe an inch or two in height, but that's about it. But he's a warrior, so that's the one thing I will say. It's one ring I always give George Kambosos. He's a warrior, and I respect him for taking the fights that other guys have been running from for a couple of years. But yeah, don't get me wrong. You know what? If he does it, to me, it will be a upset of monumental proportions, and I won't know what to do. You know, that's a free basis pick for you right there. I can't see any way that he wins that fight, but if he does, boy, you might not see me on the channel for a couple of weeks. I just might be in a dark room just thinking about life. That's how much of a monumental upset I believe it to be. Mullah Inoue in his last 8 fights has become undisputed in 2 weight classes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we say 8. Technically, that was the last 3, or the last 3 of the last 4. So, yeah, but he's just fought more reigning champions than most other people. So to say that he's overrated is a bit harsh. Shout out to Skyline. Where does Tank get these conspiracies against Hearn from? I don't actually think he believes them. I just think he's tweeting, number one, because he's bored, and number two, because he knows that Eddie, if you say anything about Eddie Hearn, you can garner attention from not just the boxing media, but there's a certain section of fans that don't like Eddie because he's a Brit, like he's a posh white boy, like they look at him as entitled and privileged and hasn't come from anything, had everything gifted to him. So you run with so many different narratives that as soon as you say that stuff, you've got a whole squad and a whole cheerleading section that will rally behind you, and then sort of just come to your way of thinking. And over in the States, that's just something that happens. So I think that's the only reason he's really going after Eddie like that, because he's a target that he knows won't, he's not going to get in any big trouble for. There's a Misfits card on his own. Salt Puppy is fighting if anyone's interested. I'll have to check. I didn't even realize that. But isn't that Elle Brook chick fighting Paige Van Zant? Isn't that happening? When's that? That must be at the end of the month then. I might check out that fight still, because obviously Paige is she's a proper MMA girl, so that might be interesting. But yeah, that's probably the only one of the Misfit stuff that I'll be watching anytime soon. Shout out to Yasmin. Thank you. Always in the building, always showing up. I appreciate it. One day we're gonna have to get you to come on the stream. Camera on, camera off, it's fine. Just say a couple words and give your take on a few things, because you've got knowledge. I need you to share some of that knowledge with people. So you're saying there's a chance. 100%. There's always a chance. It's just how realistic of a chance. But yes, it's one of the greatest films ever made. The sequel wasn't that great. Neither was the spin-off they tried to do, but Dumb and Dumber. It's on the level of Kingpin in terms of my favorite comedy films. I think Kingpin is my favorite all-time comedy film. Anyone who don't know about Kingpin, like you're missing out. You have to watch that. But yeah, Dumb and Dumber's up there. Lucan, but Tank is a donut though. Who listens to him? His fans listen to him. The people that think that he's pound for pound listen to him. The people that used to listen to Floyd will listen to Tank, even though the two of them are going at it at the minute. Trust me. But yeah, okay, so obviously we spoke a little bit about Inoue, mixed in some Ryan Garcia in there. So yeah, I said that's pretty much all the thoughts I had. So I'm gonna leave the floor up to you guys. We're gonna do 10 minutes of any questions or any topics you want to talk about, and then as soon as we get through that, then I'm gonna put a link in the chat for 15 minutes, 20 minutes if anyone wants to come on and talk some talk some of that good stuff, and then we can get out of it and enjoy the rest of our nights. If anyone's watching the football, let me know, by the way, if anyone's watching the Champions League. I don't have my other phone on me. Like, what's the score at the minute? Mullah, once they see Boots getting regular fights and paid regular, they'll probably get a little jealous over at the PBC. 100%. Kelshi, what do you think Eubank Jr.'s next fight is most likely going to be after leaving Wasserman? I've genuinely got no idea what he's going to do next. I think his next fight is going to be the Conor Benn fight. I think he's just gonna wait for that fight, but I think he doesn't want to give Wasserman a percentage of his purse. I think that's literally what it is. He wants to make all the money for himself. Who you got winning Hughes versus Johnson? You only get one free pick a day on the stream, Philip. You know you're gonna have to watch basis picks for that. Alright, still 0-0. Thank you. But Madrid have had the better chances. Tony says they hit the post. Alright, cool. Yeah, I can't believe PSG messed me up yesterday. I knew that obviously they lost the first, but I thought, okay, they'll at least win a 2-1. I expect them to win 2-1 yesterday. So obviously I had them in the accumulator, and they busted. They were the first team on the accumulator, and they busted it straight away. Them and Bolton. Even though Bolton actually went through their semi-final, but they lost 3-2 to Barnsley when I expected them to get the victory because obviously they won the away leg first. So make sure you win the home leg too. But no, they ended up losing that 3-2. So both of them busted that accumulator. And then I had a bunch of teams from like the Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamerica and Americana, sorry. And all of those teams that was big odds, big odds. And they all came through except for one. So yeah, if I hadn't put those first two in there, I would have been sitting nice off of a little, like, what was it, a £5 bet. Talking about a couple, about nearly £1,000 just off of that £5. But such is life. Right, where is Anthony Yard gonna end up? Your guess is as good as mine, Tony. At the end of the day, you know them, man, innit? So you're the one that can get those answers. The only person I've got a relationship with there is Spencer, and you know it's not a kind of relationship where he's gonna tell me them kind of secrets there. Like, but personally, I think he'll end up back at Queensbury because, as I said before, if he goes anywhere else or he tries to do the free agent thing, he don't get no more like cans to crush in the ring. He doesn't get no more tune-ups and keep busies like that. Every fight's gonna be back-to-back killer after killer after killer. And I don't think that's the way they're trying to position him. So I think Queensbury is the only ones that will kind of give him the type of energy that he or his team wants. My personal opinion. Bigsy Biggs, have you been keeping up with the Charlos? Heard Jamal got some trouble. Does that mean he'll be stripped now? Yeah, so Biggs, he's now been stripped of the WBC title because he got arrested for obviously drink driving or driving while under the influence, whether that was drink or other substances, evading police capture, failing to stop police sirens and all that stuff. So yeah, he's in problems. And whereas he didn't defend the belt in his last fight, which was 168 pounds, they stripped him of it and they've elevated Carlos Adames to the full champ. So yeah, that's probably the end of him in the boxing ring. Jamel he may come back, but if he does, he's coming back purely at 160. He was trying to get super champ status for the WBA back at 154, but I think that was literally just so he could try and get some step aside money because he's never making that weight again. But yeah, I think it's over for Jamal, and Jamel, I don't know what he's kind of doing next. Thoughts on Tank versus Martin? I think it's an introduction fight, a reintroduction to the people, because Tank's been out of the ring for like 14 months. Charles Martin is not all that. He struggles with movement. I mean, not that Gervonta necessarily moves that much these days, but he struggles with movement. He doesn't hit that hard. He's got some good attributes, but he's fairly one-dimensional. He hasn't fought anyone of a top 10 name in any rank governing bodies. So, to be honest, I feel like he's cannon fodder. He might have a size advantage, and that may be the one thing that kind of keeps him in the fight, especially at the start. But yeah, I don't particularly see that being a hugely competitive fight. Tank may even carry him for like the first half. PSG were extremely unlucky. Yeah, well, unluckiness didn't help my bet, so screw them. I haven't seen Chris Andre boxing post any videos, and his last tweet on X was in March. Is there something going on? Well, that's not my business to speak, Philip. But what I will say is, obviously, sometimes life's in it. Like, life be life in. Things get in the way, and there's things that are more important than being on YouTube. That's pretty much all I'll say about that. But obviously, wishes and prayers to Chris and his family and everything. But he'll be back when he's good and ready. Tony Telford, mate. Telford. Okay, cool. Ed Whitcomb, shout out to you. Been a while since I've seen you around here. Wilder fighting Anderson only 2 months after Zhang. Sounds like Wilder being sacrificed to Anderson. Well, yeah, but that's only if he comes out of the fight and is raring to go. Knowing Deontay Wilder, he's not doing a 2-month turnaround. Unless he manages to wipe out Zhang in the first round, which I sincerely doubt, he's going to have damage in that fight to have to recover from. So he won't be fighting Anderson in August. Philip answer, typical PBC behavior that is. Yeah, there you go. Nothing to do with boxing, but have you seen the new Superman suit reveal for the new Superman movie? Yes, I have. I need to see it like when he's actually standing up, and I need to see if they're gonna, obviously, a lot of the time they'll do special effects touch-ups on the suits, so it may look a lot better from that position. But maybe they want a suit that looks more man-made and man-built, rather than, you know, like a suit that looks very stylized and you know, like, oh well, who would have taken the time to develop this? So it looks a bit more puffy and tactical, a bit like the Captain America suits from the Marvel films. So maybe that's the look they're going for, but I need to see it like with a guy standing up rather than sitting down, because all the folds and stuff, you know, didn't look the same. Well, I'd rather see Moses versus Anderson. I don't think Atuma's ready for that fight just yet. He's not up to 10 rounders yet. I don't think that's the right move just yet for him. But by, you know, the start of next year, yeah, I think that would be maybe sort of the end of Riyadh season. You could see that one. I think would be a good, like, March next year. Let both guys get another. Well, Jared would probably have 1, maximum 2 fights, and I think that Moses Atama would have had about 3 fights by then, so they'd be closer in comparison in terms of the number of on the screen. Yeah, so might be decent. Be interesting, but I don't think that one's right just yet. The marination, that one probably does need to marinate a bit until Moses gets a bit more experience. But okay, with that being said, put a link in the chat, see if anyone wants to jump on for the last 15 minutes. But what we won't be doing is, if Anthony jumps on today at 2 minutes to 9, you will not be, if you're watching Anthony, I will not be bringing you on at 2 minutes to 9. I'm closing off the stream on time. So yeah, anytime before then, cool. If I see you the last minute of the show, so you gotta stay backstage. Jam down 187. Estrada versus Bam in June should be a nice little test. Would have preferred if Gaia was more active leading to the fight. Yeah, I think he's just looking cash out monies at this point. I don't think he wanted tune-up fights, because if you remember, the last time he had a tune-up fight before the last Chocolatito fight, he looked awful and nearly got beat in that fight. Made very hard work of it, so he probably thought, I don't want to risk that again. Let me just go into the big fight, and if I'm good enough, I'll win. If I'm not, then I won't. Philip, Fury Usyk is in 10 days. Has anything changed, or are you still sticking with your thoughts? Yeah, my thoughts have not changed on that. I haven't seen anything new to make me feel like I have to, but my thoughts have been my thoughts for the last couple years, and they're not going to change now. So unless any new evidence comes to light, then yeah, I'm steadfast in my thoughts and feelings of that fight and how that fight plays out. Cause D'Amato, what is happening with Ben Whitaker's career? 2 years, 7 fights, 7 fights, nobody, 7 fights, nobody is what's Boxer up to. Okay, do you mean like 7 fights and he hasn't fought anybody? Is that what you mean? Or seven nobody fights? Well, if you remember, I don't know if you know this, cause but last year after he signed, he had like 2 fights and then he got injured, so he took a little time out. Then he had another fight and then ended up suffering another injury after that. So his first year as a pro was plagued with injuries, which look like they're now behind him. He's doing a lot more rest and recovery in between sort of sessions and fights and stuff. So the injuries just look like they've stopped. So that's why he's been more active now. And we've seen him fight. He's going to be fighting like 4 times within the last sort of 7 months, which is very good for for that level. But ultimately, he's still in that building phase. So he just got to fight the fights to just give him the experience in the ring, and then after this next fight, I'm sure there's going to be a step up in opposition, and then if he wins that, he might stay there, do that one more time, then another step up in opposition until you get to those eliminators for the title. I don't think there's much wrong with the career apart from obviously it was stop start because of a few injuries that he had last year or the year before. Jam down. Fury's footwork would have to significantly improve for me to give him a chance in this fight, and he's not been the same since he came back from Nandrolone. There you go. What's your take on Ben's fight against Onyeka? Ben looked upset in the press conference for the first time. Yeah, look, I interviewed Ezra Onyeka at the press conference. He seems like a cool guy, and he seems confident. But I think his confidence more comes from the fact of, well, to him it's a no-lose situation, and because it's a no-lose situation, he's going in there full of confidence that he can do the unthinkable, and there's no pressure on him, so he's living comfortable. And Ben is a bit sort of upset in the sense that he doesn't think that the guy has necessarily earned this opportunity, but he's talked himself into an opportunity like this, so he wants to sort of go out there and make an example. The only problem with that is he could start to maybe do what Naoya Inoue did in that first round against Nery, and just try to impose his will to make a statement, and in doing that get caught. It's very possible that something like that could happen. So yeah, as long as he boxes the way that he knows how to box and stays sharp and smart, he should be totally fine. But if he fights off of emotion because he feels disrespected that this guy felt the need to call him out, then he could end up playing into playing into someone else's hands. We'll see. Star Fox, hopefully October presses sabotage Dan on Whitaker in a stream later today. Yeah, I mean, I'll be tuning in. Shout out to Dan. You know what? The thing is, I know Dan. He will tell you as much as he can without getting himself or the company in trouble. And that's not just on camera. That's off camera. He tries. Obviously, look, he works for boxers, so there's certain things he's not gonna besmirch them and trash the company, but he will say certain times when there's certain things, and he'll be like, I get why that looks a certain way to people. So but no, big up to Dan. Dan's cool people. Obviously, like him, like my guy Chucky, and they were doing the HC pod and that. Shout out to them. Should be starting in 10 minutes. Yeah, that's why this one will be getting cut off in times to start that, so there's no cross pollinations of the audiences. Whoever was here wants to jump over there will be able to, and then whoever didn't want to come here thinking that they might miss that one, that won't be a case either. So this is strange to bring up, but every time I see Chantel Cameron, her face is so shiny. You can see the light reflection. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a chemical pill that she's maybe done. Don't know if it's her makeup. I don't know if maybe she just like sweats a lot these days. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's weird in those interviews and on that stage. It's like you must have someone there, like a stylist or a makeup artist, saying like, right, yeah, you're really out here just looking waxy on the screen. Let's put some like foundation or some powder on you or something. It's like, it's crazy that that she was glistening so much. But I won't say anything else on that. I wasn't trying to be rude or disrespectful, but yeah, it did look a bit nuts still. And Star Fox, the glow up is real. Yeah. Chantel shining bright like a diamond. Oh man, you guys are hilarious. Yeah, I'll leave that one there. Okay, so any last bits of business? Kiyoshi, I remember Savage Dan from HC podcast way back as well. It was so random to see him involved in boxing. Yeah, but the thing is, you say that he actually was boxing before all of the other stuff. He's actually an amateur boxer. He used to like fight or box and spar those guys that that you're seeing in and around now. I think he had spars with like Dan Aziz and Anthony Yard and Callum Smith, and I think Paul Smith back in the day as well. Like he was on the amateur. He's an amateur boxer for. I don't think he ever got to like the England amateur team, but he was a former amateur. So that's why he was involved with boxing, because he knew the business and knew the sport inside out. So yeah, bit of news there, history there for you, just in case you didn't know that, Kiyoshi. Dan's been with Ben from the start. Yeah, very true. Very true. He even used to do a pod with Paulie. I think I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that actually, yeah. I don't remember any of the episodes, but I do remember him being on a couple of those. But they were like strictly YouTube. Alright, couple minutes left. Apparently Savage Dan got the better of George Groves in sparring. I mean, I heard that rumor, but even if he did, it doesn't matter too much, because sparring. Alright, Dan is the naturally bigger guy of the two. If we're talking just maybe not obviously now, but in terms of like when they were both like boxing, Dan was, I think he was around sort of light heavyweight. Yeah, and obviously George was a 168 guy. Now George is walking around very, very heavy, but him and Dan probably are weight in and around the same. And obviously Dan's very tall as well. Dan's like 6'2", 6'2", sort of 6'2.5". So somebody needs to leak that footage. Yasmin, did you see Tank tweet calling Claressa Shields a French bulldog lady? Yeah, I did. You know what? Everyone here knows I'm not a big Claressa Shields fan. I don't really like her, like as a person. Respect her as a boxer, I don't really like her as a person. But I didn't really. I'm not really co-signing Tank Davis on those Claressa tweets. Like, I've always maintained. I feel like I've always kind of called her like pretty ugly. Like she doesn't look it's weird because certain times, even though like she doesn't look typically like what I would class as a nice woman, but she's got her moments. So to me, yeah, she's got kind of that ugly, cute look, or that pretty at times. It's kind of how I see it. But yeah, I don't agree with the bulldog things, and yeah, I think Tank's wrong for that personally. Stop it. Spas are not for public consumption. R1 will be, Tony. R1 will be, but that's fine. Kiyoshi, very random thought, but do you think there should be weight class between light heavy and cruiser? Yes. Yes, I do. I've always said that. I still think that when they made this quote unquote bridger weight, the they should have just put the cruiserweight limit back to 190 pounds, and then had bridger from 190 to like 205, and then from 205 onwards you just be a heavyweight. Or even if you want to leave cruiserweight at 200, but you have but you take what's it called? You have something in between light heavy, and maybe you call it light cruiser. So you have light heavy, then you have light cruiser, then you got cruiserweight, and then obviously now they got super cruiser and bridge or whatever. But yeah, I've always said that 25 pounds is a madness, and it's a very big disadvantage to a lot of people. So yeah, I would have preferred to see, like I said, heavyweight to go up to 205 or even 210. So if you say between 190 and 210, you make your bones that way. Then anything from 210 upwards or 205 upwards is heavyweight. That's how I personally would have done it. Dan with that big smiley face in the footage, piecing George off would be jokes. Have you seen this Matchroom and Pitch Internationals link up that's been made? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got any details on it. I can only assume it's got something to do with maybe getting more stadium fights made, or making it easier to sort of do those or to promote in that way. But yeah, I couldn't tell you much. Salute to Toby Bartlett in the building. There's time she has sex appeal. Yes, that's kind of how I see it as well. Mullah. Base, did you ever box? No, never boxed. I've done several, I've trained in boxing gyms and whatnot. It's funny because every time I go into a boxing gym, from the very first time I went into one, I used to go and do the training with the coaches, and the first thing they say to me is, "You boxed before, haven't you?" Or, "Hey, like, did you used to box? So you're a former amateur?" I used to be like, "Nope." But they're like, your technique's too good for someone that's never boxed before." I was like, yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, it sounds like base boxed enough to start Tony in a spar. That spar will be interesting. That spar is going to basically come down to who's got the better gas tank. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, I've got the size, height, and the reach advantage over Tony. So it's going to come down to the other intangibles, because he ain't going to win the spar based on those criteria. But don't worry, I can't just be talking for the sake of talking. We're gonna get that popping. So as soon as we do, we will sort of we'll get that up so that everyone can see it. Look at Tony saying dream one. Yeah, it's like, keep it in the chat, Tony. You know your day is coming, right? He's like, oh, it means nothing. Cool. So you're telling me that size, height, and the reach of it means nothing, yeah? All right, say nothing, Tony. Say nothing. Shout out to Jack Knight with the big super chat right at the end of the show. Big love for the lives. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for super chat. Very appreciated. Very appreciated. Thank you. Then you can't lie. Tony looks like a serious. No, Tony's serious. I've seen footage of Tony with the kids that he trains. Like, he'd be in there with no head guard, just moving around, all of that good stuff. But man's gonna call me, but he's fun. Big food. Yeah, you can't finish this plate, Tony. That's all I'm saying to you. Like, don't be saying certain things in the comments, because if I'm like Crawford, like, when it's time to get active, I get active. Just know that. Switch it in, Tony. Gotta love it. All right, but yeah, shout out to everyone. I'm gonna cut this stream off. Everyone, jump straight over to October Red's channel. Yeah, jump over to October Red. Shout out to Danny Fight Fan TV just jumped in last minute. But yeah, with that being said, it's the Hardcore Casual out.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better than me? I don't care if you agree. I ain't saying that I'm better than anyone. But who better than me?